For the first time in program history, UConn beats Kansas, this time at Phog Allen Fieldhouse. We'll talk about it and also preview the big game against East Texas A&M coming up next right here on How About Them Huskies. Welcome to episode 150, the big 150 of How About the Huskies. As always, I'm your host, Connor, joined by Matt and Andrew. And as I mentioned in the open, we saw history on Tuesday night. UConn went into Phog Allen Fieldhouse, defeated Kansas 61 to 56 without Terrace Reed, Kansas without Darren Peterson. Two guys are out, so it seems even to me. UConn, number 5 Huskies, able to defeat the number 21 Jayhawks. What was your guys' reaction going through all this? I'm sure there's one name that comes to mind during that reaction who we'll certainly talk about, but I, for one, was just really excited because based off what happened last time we were there and how close we were, it felt really redeeming to pull this one out.
Well, it was a fantastic team win for starters. There was everybody contributed in one way or another to this team win. And what is now off the videos I've seen from people I know that were there, like Jared and Mal, like that place is the easiest, like easy, hardest place to play. It's ridiculous. How often do you see a stadium that is completely full half an hour before tip off? And just the fact that like I saw a video from I think it was Hot Balls. Is the banners were shaking so much, even the 1922 banner, as Kansas fans count as national championships. But it was just like all in all, great team win. There's a lot to talk about, so we'll break it down later. But just a fantastic team win for this team. They needed it.
An awesome win for sure, especially after all the F Dan Hurley chants coming down. This is a game a few years ago you probably don't win, and Dan Hurley gets ejected from, and it's a whole mess. But I'm glad he was able to keep it somewhat together, and we were able to pull out the win.
Yeah, so after the game, a guy like Caravan posted his Instagram story. Like this was for the 23 guys, 24 guys, I forget, which it was 23. Team was 24, but yeah, it's really just a game that you've had marked on your calendar ever since it happened. We wish obviously the first game back against them after that was at home, but we'll get him home next year. At least that's the rumor until Bill Self backs out of that one. But yeah, I agree. Massive team win, tough place to play. A guy that really stepped up, and that's first point what we talked about in this one. Braylon Mullins, his second game, really his first real game in a way. Was on a minutes restriction against Illinois, didn't look like himself. But boy, if this is the himself that we saw against Kansas, we're in for a treat this year. 17 points, 6 of 12, I believe, from the field, 3 of 9 from three. Just took over at points in that second half. He really helped propel the Huskies to the win, as did a bunch of other players in that lineup, which we'll talk about, that pushed the Huskies from like down to up. But yeah, what was your thoughts on Mullins? Because I personally saw a lot of Jordan Hawkins in him, and that's a big comparison to make after one game. But just the way he was catching and shooting immediately, just wide open, always, just really felt like Hawkins, his jump shot, how quick it is. It's just that's the comparison I want to make. And that's big shoes to fill for a kid playing in his second game. But if he could do this, I feel like those are shoes that he can fill.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree with the Hawkins thing. Obviously, like all comparisons, there's things that Braylon's better at and things that Hawkins is better at. But overall, I mean, he was unbelievable. He looks so confident when he's shooting the ball. He doesn't hesitate at all. Even when he does those little hesitation moves, he still looks so confident to shoot it. And kind of like a nitpicky thing about him that I want to talk about is he makes it so easy to get offensive rebounds because when certain people like maybe Malachi Smith or a Jaden Ross sort of shoot a 3-pointer, you don't know where it's going really. You don't know, especially with Malachi's shooting form where he kind of just pushes it from his chest, not above his head. You don't know if it's going to be front rim or off the backboard or something. Mullins' shot is so good that you know even if he misses it, it's going to be around the rim. So you know about the area where it's going to be to get that offensive rebound. I noticed that a couple of times in the Kansas game, but I just kind of thought it was funny too that Kansas fans were pissed. Oh, how this guy got 2 points in the last game and none in the first five, and he had 17 points yet because he was hurt and he's a five-star All-American. But I think he was fantastic, and I think it's a great sign of what's to come from him. And our prediction was right about him helping space the floor. That couldn't have been more right.
And before Mullins came in, this team looked really desperate, in my opinion, and he just kind of gave a spark. I mean, you were having Stewart out there, and he just didn't look like he was really going to change the game. And how much is Ross going to be able to affect it? You need a scorer out there, and I think Mullins is that exact scorer that this team has needed since he's been out. There were times when you're just like, who's going to get a bucket? And you just kind of look around and you're not entirely sure. Like, you have the talent to do it. You have your Demarys and you have your Ball and you have your Caravan and they're not going to make their own shot. They're not going to go out there, and I just don't think they're going to get you a bucket, an easy bucket. I feel like Mullins just goes out there and he's not afraid to put it up, and I think that's kind of just what you've needed throughout the stretch. I think you win that Arizona game if he's there, and I just think that he's such a game changer, and I'm really excited to see him continue to grow.
Yeah, and it hurts as well when your bucket guys like Solo aren't making buckets, which he wasn't up until this game where he had his best game of the year. But look back to the Bryant game, the game before that Mullins came back. They shot 5 of 25 from three. The offense looked terrible. I mean, you only scored 72 points against an America East team, which I mean, Bryant's solid for their conference, but I mean, come on, you gotta at least be in the 80 to 90s in that game. But yeah, I mean, back to Solo. He, like I said, had his best game of the year. Not the best game he's going to have all year. Hopefully not. But so far this year, the best you've seen. He scored 17 points. He went 3 of 7 from three, which percentage wise is the best he shot all year, not counting that UMass the whole game where he went just 1 for 2. He took over early. He was on the bench for that big stretch. Mullins was really in at that two guard position, but he was on the bench for that stretch, but he still ended up being tied for the team lead in scoring, and we couldn't win the game without him. But I'm just really relieved to see him hopefully start to get his shot back because we need that with the upcoming Big East schedule looming.
And these performances weren't against any scrubs either. This is Kansas. I mean, Mullins going out there and him and Solo combining for 34 against Kansas is it's pretty awesome, and I'm just really happy that that happened. I don't really know how to close this, but I just want to see this continue going forward.
Yeah, it's the first time we've really had two elite shooters like that. Not discredit to Alex Caravan, who's a good shooter, but he's not the type of player that Mullins or Caravan are, or Mullins or Ball are, excuse me. Caravan's more of a type of guy that he finds his shots through the offense, catch and shoot type guy. Mullins and Ball are like more like action off screen. So it's glad to have both those weapons out there. And they didn't play as much together as you probably would want, because like I mentioned during that run where the Huskies came back, Mullins was in and Ball was out. But once we get healthier and healthier, which includes getting Terrace Reed back, having an offense that the options are Ball or Mullins for three, Caravan for three as well, Reed down low, Silas driving and dishing. It's a little scary to think about how good this offense could be. And also, I mentioned Terrace. Credit to Eric Riba for playing not his best game as a Husky, but his most important game. He played 31 minutes, almost 32 minutes in this game against Kansas, which that would have probably been unthought of a month ago this time, thinking that your 7 foot freshman who is expected to be the backup is playing massive minutes, impactful minutes in a game like that. I was just really impressed, and it helps almost in a way for him to have Terrace out because we saw him in that Arizona game. He grew up. If I didn't see how he played in that Arizona game, I'd be a little worried going into this one against Kansas. Like, what is the freshman going to do against Badunga, who's one of the top big men in the Big 12? But he really impressed and was one of the main reasons they pulled it out also.
And remember that 31 minutes is keeping in mind that he got two fouls relatively quickly into that game, and he had to sit for a good amount of time in that first half, which kind of had me nervous. And I sound stupid now, but I was thinking that, like, damn, this freshman is going to finally get, like, kind of not exposed, but like they're going to have a good game plan for him, and he's going to foul out with 5 or 6 minutes left to go, and Flory's going to be able to do whatever he wants because we don't have a backup big. But he only got one more foul, and granted, one of those fouls was absolutely ridiculous. The one that sent him to the bench in the first half. I think you know which one I'm talking about with the arm wrap. That was ridiculous. But you got to give credit to him because I thought that for sure he was going to get at least two, maybe that third foul to make it five, but he only got one more. He stayed disciplined on defense and just straight up played great defense on Paducah. So a bunch of credit to Eric Riba for that win as well.
And I know we're only 8 games into the season now, but it's just weird to say about a freshman. He just seems like a professional. I just don't remember the last time we had a freshman come in with this much poise and just being able to fill in where he's needed. And I'm just very impressed by it. We talked about the Arizona game. He was, if not our most important player, he was fantastic in that game. And then coming into Kansas on the road at Phog Allen, just kind of you don't even have to worry about it. He's just like very solid and very good. He's better than what Klingon was that his first few games as a freshman. I mean, it was a while before we saw Klingon play any more than 25 minutes, I feel like. And um, I mean, we've seen what he's become, the kind of player he is. And I just think that Ryba kind of, he might not be the player that Klingon is, but just kind of being able to, not have to worry about that. And honestly, for the rest of the year, we'll see how Terrace is. But if he's out, I just don't think that it's the end of the world. And I think that's awesome.
Yeah, Riva in this second half played 18 minutes and 32 seconds. That's something like you mentioned. That's if he played that much in a game, we'd probably be a little surprised at a month ago this time. But I'm pulling up Klingon's game log from his freshman year because you bring up an interesting point that I want to see. Clinton, the most minutes he played in a game as a freshman was 21. He did it twice. Ryba, I don't have his other games in front of me, but I mean 31 in this one. He's probably beaten that a couple other times as well. This is he's not saying he's better than Klingon as a freshman because they like Andrew mentioned for Mullins and Hawkins, these two guys bring different things to the table, even though they play similar positions. But the comparisons I feel like have to be made because having a guy if Reed is what you really think he's going to be, and I don't think we've even seen him at his full potential yet this year against a big team. I feel like you compare him to Sonogo, Ryba to Kling, and you're looking at a near identical center duo to that of the 22-23 team and add in all these Mullins Hawkins type beats. I feel like you're seeing a lot of similar vibes. I'm feeling similar vibes, honestly, to the year after. We're 7-1. The one was a game where like if we're healthy, we probably win. That's we're saying the same thing about Kansas at this point last 2 years ago. We're like, oh, we'd be undefeated if we were healthy, but I don't know. I don't know what you guys think about that. I just have similar vibes at this point in the year. We're like, I'm not scared of any opponent you throw in front of me after winning Fog Allen Fieldhouse.
And I love that point. I just think that the lineup from top to bottom is so similar. I mean, you have Demery, who is your new Tristan Newton. You have Solo, who, I mean, could be anybody, but I think Mullins is Hawkins here. And then you have Terrace, who reminds me a lot of Adama and Eric Ryba, who comes in and, is fantastic off the bench. I just think that the comparison it's very similar, and I'm hoping to a similar result. Maybe not the January slide, but that national championship at the end.
Yeah, I agree with what both of you said about the comparisons in teams, but also I kind of want to talk about just the bench and having someone reliable like Malachi Smith, Jaden Ross, and what should be Eric Weibel. Like I feel like that's what people are forgetting. He should be coming off the bench, and he's doing what he's doing in a starting role, which is kind of just crazy to think about. But I just think that this team in general has shown so many good signs of improvement from not only just last year, but just improvement in general. I don't think that Arizona loss really means anything now. We were without two of our best three players, or even however you want to say it, our top two players. And we lost to what's now the number two team in the country. So that loss really doesn't mean anything. And I don't agree with Connor. I'm not scared of anybody except for Seton Hall at the Prudential Center. That is the one that I am scared of.
Well, that's always a given. Hopefully this year is different, but this is also the best Seton Hall team we probably have seen in all of those lost years. Seton Hall 8-1, I believe now on the year. They're ranked in the top 50 of the net. They are probably on paper, definitely looking at literally on paper, the fourth best team in the Big East based on all the metrics. But yeah, I agree. I mean, you can't be afraid. The streaks have to end at some point, right? But yeah, going back to this one, I mean, I just want to highlight that lineup that was in there during that comeback and mostly highlight the man who spearheaded it, Alex Caravan. We were down, I believe, 3 points or maybe even more. Might have been, no, we were down six. Alex Caravan went on a personal 7-0 run to put us from down six to up one. Mullins had hit his mid-range shot that I almost got out of my seat for, seeing him dribble to the elbow, spin, knock that down. Then we did a 9-0 run. We were up by three and never trailed the rest of the game. That lineup, Caravan, Mullins, Jaden Ross, Malachi Smith, and Ryba, notably on the bench, Silas Demery, noticeably on the bench, Solo Ball, notably on the bench, Jalen Stewart, who, after he subbed out for the first time in that second half, did not return after just 3 minutes of play. We'll talk about that in a moment. But I just feel like it just talks about the depth with this team that you can go on a run at Fog Allen Fieldhouse with Jaden Ross on the floor, Malachi Smith on the floor, Eric Riba, who are all expected to be reserves on this team. You don't need the starters playing north of 35 minutes, which I feel like last year we were at that point where if Solo doesn't play 38, Caravan doesn't play 40, we're probably not going to win. The depth on this year's team echoes what it did 3 years ago, even 2 years ago. But I say we're almost deeper this year than that elite 37 and 3 year. But I just feel like you can't undervalue that, especially with the guy out. I mean, we were only 8 deep essentially in this game, and we're still able to pull it out.
Yeah, this entire game was living proof of what we've said so many times on the show, and it's that it's not about who starts the game, it's who finishes the game. And this was prevalent in that run. Like Connor said, what, four bench players in Caravan during that run? Three? Four? No, three, because Rob is technically a starter. But and kind of just talk about Caravan real quick. That is the most veteran like thing I've ever seen. He just said, "Give me the basketball. I'm gonna go on a run," and he looked fantastic doing it. Like he looked great taking it to the lane and those great takes. And even the elbow jumper kind of had me a little bit there too. I was like, "Whoa!" But even the 3-pointer, I think Store South had tweeted earlier, like enough with the Steph Curry threes, which I agree. The one from the Jayhawk feather in the first half was a little bit much, but he sank that one from about 40 feet. So that was great to see too. But that's the most veteran he's looked ever, and it's definitely because he wanted that win more than anybody.
Yeah, especially after what happened a couple of years ago. But I want to hone in on Stewart here. He's someone I'm doing the math out now, but he averages 6 points per game. In the cupcake games, if you will, he's averaging just under eight. And in the big four games you've had so far, zero plus five plus 10 is 15 plus two, 17, just over 4 points per game in these big games. He did not play at all, essentially benched after a couple of bad turnovers. One went through, forget if it went through his legs or Silas's legs. There was a pass between the two of them that ended up with a very silly turnover. He did not play the rest of the game, just 15 minutes, which is the fewest he's played all season. I mean, it helps that Brilin's back and is probably was going to take some of his minutes anyways, but he certainly is not helping himself with the way he's been playing as of late. I mean, the past two games, 2 of 10 from the field, 1 of 7 from three. This is a guy that you're expecting as a junior who's been a rotational piece of a national championship team to take a bigger leap than this. And we're not asking for 15 a night. We're asking for a guy you can put on the floor to give you minutes that you need in a big game, which on Tuesday, I feel like we didn't have that with him.
Now, and I've been noticing this the past couple of games. What I'll start out with is the fact that if he doesn't get better in his minutes that he gets, he might lose his minutes in general. Like he might be a 5, 6 minute guy, because he has not looked great as of late. And it's not just the missing the shots. The shot selection is not great. They're very low quality shots that he's taking. Those 3-pointers I'm talking about. I think if he gets away from that, he'll be fine. He looks great when he takes it to the lane, but just yeah, those two turnovers, the terrible pass, and then like as a college basketball player, unless like it's completely uncatchable above your head, you got to catch any ball that's thrown to you, or at least corral it in some way like that. That ball can't get through the legs and give him a fast break like that. That cannot happen. Under any circumstance, especially in a big possession in which that was. But I think that he's kind of got to figure out his role a little bit now because ideally Braylon should be starting on Friday. I would think, and he'll probably be back off the bench. But he's just kind of got to figure out his role, or he's going to lose it. Unfortunately, I love Jalen Stewart. He's a great player, great person, but he's just got to figure out his role on this team now that he's going to lose his starting spot. He almost looks like he's panicking every time he gets the ball. He doesn't want to do the wrong thing, which ironically enough results in the wrong thing. So I kind of just feel like the staff's got to work with him a little bit in terms of that. But I think he'll be fine. But just as of late, he has not been very good at all.
Yeah, I agree. I'd almost be shocked if Braylon Mullins isn't starting on Friday, tomorrow, or today by the time you're listening to this episode. But yeah, I mean, I mentioned points per game with him, and obviously I know basketball is much more than points per game. Like Jaden Ross is averaging fewer points per game than him. But I mean, a guy like Ross, the impact he has in the other facets of the game is something I feel like Stewart's missing. Stewart I feel like is almost in there to score, which it feels weird to say because he doesn't do much of it, at least as of late. But I mean, he's solid on the glass, I guess. But I mean, I still feel like you take Jaden Ross in a majority of the categories head to head, just like his rebounding, defense, playmaking ability. It's just at the end of the day, two very similar players. When you trim down the rotation, I feel like one of them is going to end up being left out, and that's not how either player or Hurley probably envisioned the season going. But that's just almost the harsh reality how it is when you have guys like Mullins playing how they are, the double center, Malachi Smith as the backup point guard. It's going to be really tough for this team to go nine deep when you get in the thick of it towards like I don't even know like a Final Four run or something. It's going to be hard to have minutes for both Ross and Stewart, which sucks at the end of the day, but you got to take advantage of the minutes you're in there. Hopefully, this is a wake up call for him, subbing out after 3 minutes and not playing the rest of the second half and the game. But anything else really to touch upon here from this Kansas game? Silas didn't do too much, but at the end of the day, we were able to pull it out. He went 1 for 5 from the field. He only finished with 2 points, but I didn't really think of his performance as a negative. Malachi Smith the same. He only had 1 point at the free throw line, so not much from your point guards, but it was the shooting guards that really stole the show.
Yeah, I just want to say something real quick with those two. Malachi Smith is also a guy that kind of needs to know his role. Watching him run the offense was definitely interesting. He's a like a high powered energy type guy, and I feel like that's not good for running the starting offense. Like you look at Tristan Newton, he was like a calm, cool, collected guy. Even going back to RJ Cole, he was the same way. He wasn't like trying to make a million moves to get to the basket. He knew his move as soon as he made it, and he knew where he was passing or shooting. Same thing with Newton, and then same thing with Silas. Silas, this game, I'm not worried at all because it's not a game where we needed him to be really good. He did his job just fine, which was kind of facilitating, making sure the offense didn't run completely into a wall, which is what necessarily happens when you don't have a good point guard. So I feel like it's not a game where we needed him in the stat sheet in terms of points, but he did a fine job.
I was going to ask you guys last thoughts on this game, but a thought did pop into my mind first. The whole no Terrace Reed, no Darren Peterson thing. What's your guys' thoughts? Because I see Kansas fans complaining, oh, we didn't have DP in this game. Well, guess what? You went 3-0 in Vegas in the Players Era tournament without him, so why are the excuses coming in now? I feel like if we lost this game without Reed, we'd probably make some excuses, but not as many as the ones I've seen from Kansas. What's your guys' thoughts on the whole ordeal?
They are doing way too much. I've seen legitimate tweets saying that if Darren Peterson doesn't play, I think they play on Saturday again. I saw a tweet word for word that said if Darren Peterson does not play on Saturday, it is likely he will never play another game in a Kansas uniform again. And I'm not lying. You can search that up. You can fact check me. Maybe it's deleted, but I saw that with my own eyes. And all I'll say is that if a UConn fan said that about somebody like Braylon Mullins or Terrace Reed, I would rip that person to shreds. Because first of all, why are you trying to rush a player back from injury, especially a hamstring injury? First of all, one of the killer injuries of basketball. There's like three, and that's one of them. Second of all, it's December. You don't need him yet. You need him for a tournament run. Kansas by no means should miss the tournament. So you need him for that. And like third of all, just like dramatic much. Like it's kind of crazy to see fans reacting in that way, but it's just he'll be fine. He's gonna play eventually this season. He's not Bryce Hopkins. He's gonna play. But I just think it's crazy to see fans just being so dramatic after a regular season game. It's crazy.
I just think that they need him. I feel like they need him pretty badly. I mean, they're 6-3 now. They're not the best they've ever been. They're not the worst they've ever been. They are just kind of in the middle right now. And I think that they're just like desperately clinging to something that isn't there yet. He'll be there eventually. He'll be playing eventually. I mean, the talent is obviously there, one of the better players in the country. But I just think that they have some kind of grudge. The F down Hurley chance, like the excuses. I feel like if we would have went and lost this game, I feel like we would have been a little upset. But at the same time, I feel like we would have understood like there's more to the season than this game. I mean, losing the Arizona one was a punch in the face, but I feel like as a fan base, we didn't really overreact. I just feel like it's a lot of overreaction from Kansas, and I feel like it's a lot of just kind of pettiness. I mean, Kansas is a top school. Um, maybe they're just jealous we've kind of taken over them over the past 5 years. Who knows?
Yeah, they claim to have the same amount of championships as us, even though two of them are Helms championships from the 1920s. It's funny, I think it was ESPN, and I don't know if it was an AI generated article or what, but it said both UConn and Kansas, who claim to have six national championships. I was like, I wasn't alive for all of them. I wasn't alive in 99, but I can confirm UConn has six. There's no claiming going on there. That was funny to see. But yeah, I feel like a part of this, and it shows even saying this after we won, because I mean, if you're saying after you lost, you'd say, oh, you're just being petty. I don't think this Kansas team's that good outside of Peterson. I mean, you don't have him. I mean, who's scoring the basketball? Badunga looks solid, and he looked solid in that game. But after that, I mean, you have Melvin Council who transferred up from the mid-major level, who's scared to shoot the ball as a point guard. The amount of times he was open and just didn't take the shot. I mean, he still ended up in double figures, but they have guys like Marco Jackson, Jamari McDowell, who play big minutes, and they are guys that I mean, are they good enough to be playing big minutes for a team competing for a championship? Probably not. It's just, I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird way this roster was constructed. I mean, Trey White's solid. He's his fourth school in 4 years. Bryson Tiller as a freshman's pretty good. Cole Rosario, we didn't see much of. He's solid as a shooter. But I feel like Bill Self's raving about Peterson as the best guy he's ever had. He didn't build a roster to really be competent. I mean, maybe they're relying on him to score 35 a game, which if they are, I mean, kudos to you, Bill Self, see if that happens. But I just feel like this team, I mean, it's tough building the plan, which is why I was close. But if this is on a neutral or a gamble, I feel like this is a easily double-digit win for UConn.
And this game was a grind for sure, but it felt a lot in the second half like Kansas was scoring it exclusively from the free throw line. It's just kind of the game it was. I'm not really getting at him for it. I just feel like without Peterson, it is a struggle. And I feel like, they did all they could against us. Credit Bill Self, fantastic coach. But they did what they had to do, but they had 15 of their points from the line, which is more than 25%. It's like 28% of their points. Oh, like almost half their points coming from the line. I don't have the numbers on the second half right here, but um, they do need a guy, and I think once Peterson comes back, things will improve. But in a game like this is a game that UConn definitely should have won. I said it in our group chat. This is a game that like we've always won. We've always won close games like this, and I just didn't think it was going to start now. And Braylon Mullins helped prove me right.
The second half, I do have the numbers. 12 of 17 from the free throw line was Kansas, 5 of 20 from the field. So your point exactly there.
And if you notice with the Kansas offense, they did not score very often off of a set. And the only times that they scored off a set were when they ran good pick plays and found people wide open for threes. I think Marco Jackson rattled in a few, which kind of hurt. But like their offense was get the rebound, fast break, either get fouled or get a layup. And that was that. They feel like they couldn't really run sets in order to score, and they just didn't run sets really whatsoever. And when they did a nice job of finding the wide open shooter, and that's credit to them. Our defense probably needs to get better in that center, but just watching their offense was so weird. They didn't like use the clock well. They didn't really do much well on offense. They were kind of in the fast break thing worked. They got a lot of points off of it. They know they're a fast team. But they didn't really run much of a distinct offense. They kind of just were banking on the fast break, layup, free throws, or wide open three. And that was kind of interesting to watch.
Yeah, I feel like that's enough Kansas slander for one. How about the Huskies episode? I mean, they're a tournament team, sure. With even probably without Peterson, they'll be a tournament team, and I'm saying that he will be back. I'd be shocked. I agree. I saw that as well with like, oh, maybe he won't be back. NBA, blah 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 blah. But I feel like he'll be back, especially in this day and age where like you essentially sign contracts to play for the school. There's massive NIL deals. Imagine how terrible of a look and how much drama it would cause if he doesn't play anymore and he signs these multi-million-dollar deals to essentially play. And that would just be a lot of a hot water mess that he probably doesn't want to get in. But any last thoughts about this Kansas game? And another one popped to my head. I don't think we mentioned the new uniforms, the blue
That's what I was going to
throwbacks.
say. That's exactly what I was going to say. Keep them.
I mean,
That's
I'd
the only
ask you
thing I wanted to
guys,
say. Keep them.
I'd ask you a scale of 1 to 10, but I feel like it should be tens. across the board. It's just I feel like I, unfortunately we won't ever get to the point, at least soon, where we just have those as our primary uniforms because of the UCONN brand that's everywhere, UConn, the logo. But I feel like we're at a point where Hurley doesn't like switch your uniforms unless you lose. We're probably going to see the white throwbacks and blue throwbacks for quite a while.
They just need to change the logo back in general. I mean, the branding on that is so much better than the new one. You don't have to look too scary to be a logo. I just think that it's so classic. It looks so good on the uniforms and just Connecticut across the chest. It's everything that it should be. And it looks like really good, really retro, and I'm really here for it. I'll probably be buying one soon.
Yeah, the formality of being called Connecticut is just, I don't know, I really love it as opposed to UConn, like saying number 5 Connecticut. It just shows a small state with great basketball history being put on the map. I don't know if you guys caught on those shorts of the new uniform. One logo, the two logos are different because this Connecticut was in two different eras, this jersey. So on the left leg, it's one logo. The other, it's a different logo. They're pretty similar, but definitely different. They definitely highlighted that in the promo, but yeah, just awesome to have those back. I saw it was rumored. I don't know what other throwbacks we can get back at this point, but I'm just really happy both those are back. But I think that's enough uniform talk for this. We'll move on to this thriller against East Texas A&M, the probably biggest game remaining on UConn. No, it should be a fairly easy UConn win. I feel like the only thing going into it are questions like, will Terrace Reed play? Should Terrace Reed play? Will Jalen Stewart start? Will he show up? I mean, do you guys have any like, what's the one thing or maybe multiple things that you're looking for in this game and what's really our last, on paper, easy game of the season before conference play and the rest of non-con?
I want to see Braylon Mullins shoot 25 shots. I'm just kidding, not that many, but I want to see him pull the trigger as much as possible because we're gonna win this game. Like, there's obviously no doubt about that. I want to see him shoot a bunch because this is the game for him to get like real confidence, see a bunch go in. I don't care if he goes 8 for 20. Like, I want to see that kid shoot as much as he wants to. And I don't. I shook my head no. But if you're listening on Spotify, I don't think Reed should play. I don't think there's any reason for him to. We got a very important game that we'll talk about later next week against Florida, which has some very good big men. So that will be a more important game for him to play. And I don't think he's going to play. And I don't think Jalen Stewart will start. I think that this will kind of be the experiment to get Braylon running with the starters. And if he's good, then fantastic. He starts the rest of the year. But that's my thing. I want to see Braylon shoot it a bunch.
Just got to get the confidence going. And the only thing I could think of to play Reed is to get all the guys out there and just get them going before these next tough matchups. But that's about it. I mean, you might see a lot of the bench here this game, but I just want to see the guys out there just playing together, playing through a system, and just kind of fixing some tweaks and making sure they're all good to go for next week.
Yeah, I feel like in a way, like I agree with like get Reed in there for potential tune-up, so you're not throwing him into Florida. But at the same time, I feel like he's a level of player where he probably could throw him into a game against Florida and he'd succeed. I'd rather wait a little longer. I mean, he didn't look great against Illinois, and we were all saying like play him against Bryant. Let's see, get him ready for the Illinois game. But he clearly wasn't ready for that, and he struggled in that game, but he was hurt. I mean, he hasn't gotten more hurt, which is good, which is also bad because why was he playing? If he plays in a game in between his 4 game absence, he plays in the third game. It's a little odd, but yeah, I feel like if he's ready, why not play him 10 minutes just to get him out there, essentially treat it like a practice. Hopefully, we can be at the point where we can do that. We were never at that point against Bryant, I don't think, in the second half. But yeah, I feel like I agree. Like I said earlier, I think Mullins will enter the starting lineup. I want to see how he reacts to his first real home game because I mean it's not going to be the greatest crowd on a Friday night against East Texas A&M, but it's really his first taste of stores playing at Gamble Pavilion. I feel like I hope he performs well. I mean, we always do, but especially for him in that game, it'd be really special. I guess one last thing I'll ask you guys before we wrap up here. It's on the longer side, but you beat Kansas, you got to be on the longer side. Players to watch for this game.
I think it's pretty unanimous. I'm not gonna lie.
I will not take unanimous. We need
All right,
different players.
all right, all right. I'll go here. I'll let Andrew go first because I know he's gonna say.
I mean, my decision's so easy. I'm going to take the guy that I've been high on since he committed in his first home game that Connor said, because I guess I didn't realize that this is going to technically, ugh, what a great first home game. But I'm going to take Mullins because I think that he's going to have his confidence not like restore, that's the wrong word, but he's going to shoot it a bunch. He's going to hear the home crowd um, cheering for him. So I think this is going to be good for him in general. So I'm going to stick with him.
A player that I'm going to specifically watch is Malachi Smith, just because I want to see him do something. I feel like in most of these games, he's kind of just playing defense and making tough plays, but I um I just want to see him, run a better offense, like Andrew said, and um just kind of I feel like we're going to see a good amount of him, so I just want to see him be productive while he's out there.
I like that. I am gonna go with a guy who we bashed in Jalen Stewart for, and this is the second time I'm choosing Jalen Stewart as my player to watch and using the term nothing burger. He had a nothing burger against Kansas. I feel like this is all, it's not the final straw for him this game. It certainly is not. But if he comes out and plays similarly to how he's played the past handful of games in this one, where he's probably gonna get at least 20 minutes, even with Mullins entering the starting lineup over him as we predict. If he doesn't get like, I don't know, 7 plus, 8 plus points, too good on the glass on defense, I feel like if you can't prove it against East Texas A&M, why should we throw you out there at MSG against Florida? Why should we throw you out there against Texas in a big game at People's Bank Arena? I feel like this is not his final straw, but if he wants to be a major part of what we're doing over the next few months, he's probably got to wake up sooner rather than later. So it does sound very harsh when I listen back to what I just said, but I feel like when you're at the level that UConn is, ranked fifth nationally, they probably think they should be higher. They you need everyone on the same page, everyone performing well. We've seen that. That's how you win championships, having everyone playing well. Stewart is not playing well right now, and we want him to get out of the funk. But it starts against East Texas A&M in this game, formerly Texas A&M Commerce, which I remember last year. They switched their name like the day before we played them, and everyone was all confused. But you guys got any last thoughts about either Kansas or East Texas A&M? I don't either. This is a fun one. It's always fun to talk about big UConn road wins. Next up, we probably won't recap East Texas A&M. Actually, we will do something about it because me and Matt will both be attending through media, Matt's first media experience. So we'll do something of the matter, but our next episode will mostly focus on this Florida game, which is hopefully a top 25 still. Florida team, after they lost against Duke, they hopefully won't fall out. Maybe they will. But yeah, hopefully it's a big game. It will be a big game against Florida, but we'll be previewing, not recapping, previewing that one. Thank you guys for watching and stay tuned for the next one.